Welcome back to Guitar Made Simple. I'm Brian Metzger, and this is the 5th lesson. So far we've looked at lesson 1, the components of the address of every note, and what are those components? The string, the finger, and the fret. And we talked about a secret to never having to count on the fretboard, so make sure you go back and visit lesson 1, you have that down. The second lesson was your first scale. You got the shape of the scale, and you learned that every note in the scale has a number, a letter, a chord in the scale. And then we spent time getting down the numbers and the letters, and we talked about how if I give you a number, I want you to give me a letter, and how all you have to do all you have to do to calculate that is start with what's the key that you're in, so you know what 1 is. So if you're in the key of C, then C is 1, and then you just count. What's G in the key of C? You go C, D, E, F, G. G is the 5. So I want you to learn how to calculate the note. Either the letter. If I give you a letter, I want you to calculate a number. If I give you the number, I want you to calculate a letter. So the third lesson is the 6th scale. So I want you to play that scale: the C scale, the G scale, the D scale, the A scale, the E scale, and the B scale. Get familiar moving up and down the fretboard. Even if you just know it as the numbers, it's going to be effective. So you don't have to get all the letters down for all those, but get the numbers down. See how powerful it is learning to be able to use the numbers. Remember, using numbers makes it universal. Using letters makes it particular. All right, then the 4th lesson, we looked at the families of chords. We talked about the major, the minor, and the inversion family. So major is 1, 4, and 5. The minor is 2 and 6, and the inversion family is 3 and 7. So I want you to have that at your fingertips. I want you to have that memorized. What are the 3 families of chords? Major, minor, inversion. What are the numbers in each one of those families? The major family is 1, 4, and 5. The minor family is 2 and 6, and the inversion family is 3 and 7. In the next lesson, we're going to start breaking down and applying that. But before we do that, there's one more thing. We have the families of chords: major, minor, and inversion. There are other families, but we're just going to start with those 3 families to start. So those are the families of chords. There's something else, though. It's called the shape of chords. There's only 5 different shapes of open chords. And it's very easy to memorize these 5 shapes because it spells the word caged. So this is part of what's called caged chording. So those give you your chord shapes: C, A, G, E, and D. So the first chord that we're going to learn, the first key that we're going to work on is in the key of C. So right now I'm just going to teach you the C chord, which is the first shape of the chord shapes. But I want you to know that there's 5 different basic shapes, and right now we're going to get down the C shape. So if you take your ring finger, you put it on the 3rd fret of your A string, and then you take your middle finger, put it on the 2nd fret of the D string, then your G string is played open, then you take your index finger, you put it on the 1st fret of your B string, and then your E string is played open. So for the C chord, you'll only play 5 notes, starting with the low A and going up to the high E. Means you omit the low E. You don't play that note. In order to avoid that note, there's a couple of ways you could avoid it. One is simply by just intentionally not striking it with your pick. But you can back up. You can use your thumb up here to mute it. So if you were to accidentally hit it, it wouldn't ring. So those are the 2 ways that I would generally use to make sure when I played my C chord that I didn't accidentally strike my low E. All right, so in further lessons, we'll take a look at the different shapes of chords, but right now we're preparing to go into the key of C and the shape of C, and I want you to have that C shape down as we go into that. But I also want you to see its place in the context of that there are 5 shapes in total. What are those shapes? The C, the A, the G, the E, and the D. You know the first one. Get ready for lesson 6, where we look at the major family, the minor family, and the inversion family out of the shape of C in the key of C.